invented like night vision goggles, but they had the red night vision goggles. It wasn't the green one like what we have today. So these blue goggles were issued to like military troops. This whole thing took place like within 60 days of it, from it being given to them, those guys, to them cutting the whole shit out because they said these people were they're freaking out. They're seeing weird shit now. And imagine now, like you're fighting war, right? But you have these goggles on at night, and then you're seeing things that looks like, like evil monsters. And
what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing, man? If you guys are brand new to the channel, if you guys don't know what we do, let me tell you what we guys do. We break down the most scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, man. From YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank my supporters who's tapping in with us, man, watching the video entirely, hitting that post notification bell, most importantly, man, hitting that like button on each and every single video I drop. You guys don't know how much you guys are helping out the channel just by doing those 3 simple steps. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Let's seek the truth. We seek the truth out here, man, nothing else.
Another time I had a friend of mine killed, and I was very upset. And I asked this Vietnamese for his ID card, and he said, "Come Viet," and that means I don't understand in Vietnamese. And it just pissed me off, so I pulled out my knife and I killed him. And it didn't bother me at all. I just called in, I said, "One VC kill." And they said, "How do you know he's a VC?" And I said, "Because he's dead." And they laughed and said, "Okay,"
Dark time in history.
It was Nguyen Phuong, right? And it happened in Vietnam. Because she always ate sushi, bro. So she goes to this one sushi restaurant that I guess she would usually go to eat at. I like sushi. Sushi's good? Yeah, I don't like sushi. She goes and she's eating this sushi, goes home like any other day. Yeah. And then she starts to notice that she started like getting like a rash and shit on her arm. Starts scratching it. It starts to like break out in hives on her whole body. Shit. And she had a husband, by the way, too. Her husband's kind of just sitting there supporting her throughout the whole thing, right? She's going to like this local pharmacy by her house, just buying a bunch of like, medicine that she could just easily apply, stuff like that, right?
Cream or
but it's not working at all for her, right? It's so weird because one day her husband wakes up, she's in the bathroom looking at herself, she looks like an old ass woman, bro. Like, it looks like she went from 26 to like 70 years old. Like, she looks like an old woman out of nowhere. Yeah, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I'll show you the picture if you want to see the picture.
Can I see a picture of her?
Yeah, I'm not.
Does she look crazy?
Dude.
Going from 20 to 70 years old in a couple of days is wild.
It is.
Whoa. Bro. Like she looks like a real old lady, bro. That is crazy.
A man was it.
Hey, man. Seekers, are we gonna have to find that pic? Cause I'm definitely gonna have to see that, man. Like I said, they eat some sushi. I'm not a avid, sushi eater, man. Tell me down below, man, Seekers, if any of you guys tried sushi. I never have, personally, but that I heard a story like that, man, it's aging you up. No.
Exploring an 11th century temple.
What he found?
What he saw cannot be explained.
The dog like levitating or something? Oh no, it's different. Or is that an edit, man? found all this in the 11th century temple? Nah, if this legit happened, man, I ain't gonna lie, I'm out that temple, bro. We ain't exploring no more, bro. We ain't Indiana Jones out here. Oh, this is in 4K too? You would think this would make like trending everywhere when it's dropped. Factor cap, man. I'm gonna need that guy's help on this one. It's like they keep, like, are they testing? They keep opening it up to look at it and closing the door. Factor cap on that clip, Seekers.
Rock apes are Bigfoot-like creatures that were reported throughout the Vietnam War by American GIs and the Viet Cong. These hominids would hurl rocks at nearby troops, hence the name rock apes. American GIs in the Vietnamese jungle told stories of encountering 6-foot-tall humanoid primates that would stalk and attack them before disappearing back into the night.
Rock apes, man? First time we hearing about this, they were throwing it at them. Everywhere.
On Reddit, a Vietnam veteran told a story about a very creepy encounter he had during the Vietnam War. One of the toughest jobs during the war was going into the Viet Cong tunnels to kill the enemy. These tunnels were not only filled with enemy soldiers but also booby traps, and these brave soldiers were known as tunnel rats. One day this tunnel rat was crawling with his partner in the deepest tunnel he'd ever been in. And when they finally arrived to the end, they were surprised that there were no booby traps in this cave system and that there was still an oil lamp lit in the last room. But there was nobody in there. But then they saw a tarp on the ground, and when they moved it, they saw stairs leading further down. But these stairs were very old. They couldn't have been built by the Viet Cong. So the two men with their pistols drawn proceeded to go down the stairs. And when they made it to the bottom, they saw about 10 Vietnamese people dressed in Viet Cong uniforms. But there was something not right about them. They had blank faces and were just staring into space. Their eyes were solid black, and they were just kind of rocking back and forth. The two men even waved their pistols and flashlights in their faces, but they just kept staring into the distance. Then they saw a bunch of weapons in the corner, but they were old and rusted. And at the end of the room, there was a golden icon of a lady, but instead of human legs, she had tentacles. Now these two men were really freaked out, and they believed that whoever these people were already dead. So they decided to rig the place with C4 and get the heck out of there as fast as they could. And while they were crawling back to the surface, they heard a woman's voice calling out to them. But they knew that whatever this was not human. Then once they finally got out of this tunnel, they told the other soldiers to get away because it was going to explode. But they didn't tell them about what they saw. And while they were waiting for the C4 to go off, they wondered who the heck was keeping those candles lit in that cave. And once the C4 went off, they felt a sigh of relief. And they didn't talk about this until many years later.
Is that a true story? We're going to have to follow up on that,
Way
man.
back like in the 1960s,
What they see.
Vietnam War, the American military, they invented like night vision goggles, but they had the red night vision goggles. It wasn't the green one like what we have today. So these new goggles were issued to like military troops. This whole thing took place like within 60 days from it being given to them, those guys, to them cutting the whole shit out because they said these people were they're freaking out. They're seeing weird shit now. And imagine that, like you're fighting war, right? But you have these goggles on at night, and then you're seeing things that looks like, like evil monsters, and you're like, hey, hold on, that doesn't look like a Vietnamese guy. That's like a straight up, like a damn Jersey Devil and shit. Like this one guy was in a helicopter just shooting at Vietnamese people. They said, what are you shooting at? It's like, all these demons out here. He said he was spraying all these demons. Pilot was like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what are you shooting at?
What the hell? That won't be the first time I ever heard a story. Technology coming out way sooner than what it was supposed to, man. Infrared, night vision goggles, but it was red instead of green. What was they seeing? There was demons everywhere. The more you know,
Have you ever
man.
heard of the Vietnamese urban legend, the ghostly wedding? The legend of the ghostly wedding is a haunting Vietnamese tale that revolves around the wedding ceremony that
Talk
takes
about
place in the spirit realm. It is a story that combines elements of love, tragedy, and the supernatural. According to the legend, the ghostly wedding is said to occur in the realm of spirits or ghosts. It involves ghostly brides and grooms who are unable to find peace and move on due to unresolved love or unfinished business in their lives. These spirits come together to partake in a wedding ceremony, seeking closure and a chance to be united in eternal matrimony. The ghostly wedding is said to be a sorrowful and ethereal event. The ceremony takes place in a mythical setting, often described as a moonlit grove or an otherworldly landscape. Ghostly music, ethereal decorations, and shimmering lights set the stage for the solemn union. During the wedding, the ghostly brides and grooms exchange vows and profess their eternal love. It is said that their love is so strong that it transcends the boundaries between life and death. The ceremony is both a celebration of their love and a plea for redemption or release from their earthly attachments. Witnessing a ghostly wedding is believed to be a rare occurrence. Those who happen upon the event may experience a mixture of emotions, including awe, sadness, and a sense of ephemeral nature of existence. Some versions of the legend suggest that those who witness the ghostly wedding may be granted a glimpse into the realm of spirits and gain a deeper understanding of love, loss, and the mysteries of the afterlife. The legend of the ghostly wedding serves as a poignant reminder of the power of love and the longing for resolution in the realm of the supernatural. It reflects the belief that the bonds of love can transcend death and that some spirits remain tethered to the earthly realm until they find closure or fulfillment.
Ghostly wedding, man.
If you're afraid of snakes, you're probably not going to like this story. During the Vietnam War, a photographer riding on a helicopter claimed that while going over the jungles of Vietnam, he spotted a huge snake across a dirt road. The eyewitness described a 100-foot snake with a horse-like head with eyes 3 feet in diameter. He told the pilot to get closer, but the snake was preparing to attack. The helicopter left the area, but not before the photographer allegedly took various photos of the snake.
4K?
The helicopter came back later to see if the snake was still there, but there was no trace of it. Locals in the area call it the bull eater for its capability of swallowing cattle, and the photos the photographer took have since been considered lost media.
Lost media? Man, I wish we could see those pics. We're gonna do a deep dive on that one too, Seekers. Yeah, I know I don't mess with snakes, man, but you've seen crazier things, man, so I kind of believe that there was a big-ass snake.
The Paranormal Chick here. Take a look at this video that's coming out of Vietnam. The villager initially thought he was recording and capturing monkeys climbing in his tree, but on closer inspection, they realized these beings are humanoid. Could this be their legendary rock ape? They have recordings and myths around the rock ape that's a humanoid monkey that go back to the beginning of their written record, also found on cave drawings. Could this be a rock ape? Or is this another phenomenon we have seen before, where children are lost in the jungle and they adapt to their surroundings or adopted by the wild animals and become wild animals themselves? Take a look and tell me what you think.
You definitely see something right there. That don't look like a hand. It's like a tail or something. Is he like trying to scare him off? you guys think that was? Rocket, humanoid creatures? We got some endless theories, man. We got some good clips we seen today.
Urban legend of the talking tree. The talking tree is a fascinating urban legend in Vietnamese folklore that revolves around the mystical tree with the ability to communicate with humans. According to the legend, the tree possesses supernatural powers and wisdom beyond ordinary comprehension. The talking tree is often depicted as an ancient and majestic tree, usually found in secluded or sacred locations such as deep within forests, on sacred grounds, or near temples. It is believed that the tree serves as a bridge between the human world and the spirit realm. According to the legend, individuals who approach the talking tree with genuine intentions and a pure heart may be granted the privilege of conversing with it. The tree is said to have a soothing and captivating voice, and it speaks in a language that the person can understand, regardless of their native tongue. The tree is said to possess immense knowledge about various aspects of life, including history, spirituality, and the secrets of the universe. It can offer guidance, advice, and even prophecies to those who seek its wisdom. Some legends mention that the tree has the power to grant wishes or provide solutions to complex problems. Encounters with the talking tree are often described as deeply spiritual experiences, with individuals feeling a sense of awe and reverence in its presence. People may visit the tree to ask for answers to important life questions, gain clarity, or simply to bask in its mystical aura.
In Vietnamese folklore, if a person isn't buried, then their soul may become a ghost, forced to wander the earth for eternity. In 1969, during the Vietnam War, this supernatural superstition became a reality, when a number of Viet Cong soldiers started to hear ghostly voices calling out to them in the jungle. They sounded a little something like this.
It's very creepy and eerie. Imagine without a jungle hearing that.
The troops would hear children crying for their fathers, men screaming in pain, and phrases like, "It's hell, I'm in hell, don't end up like me," alongside whispered encouragements for the soldiers to cut their own lives short. These sounds were absolutely horrifying, but here's the kicker. It turns out they were caused by GIs, not ghosts.
Whoa.
The voices were part of a real U.S. military tactic called Operation Wandering Soul. The U.S. employed South Vietnamese civilians to say these phrases on tape before playing them out loud on speakers placed in the jungle and on helicopters. The tapes were a form of psychological warfare, aiming to utilize local superstitions to persuade the Viet Cong patrols to flee or surrender out of fear. In some cases, this worked. However, more often than not, the Viet Cong soldiers would fire in the direction of the voices, hitting the soldiers and helicopters holding the speakers. Well, that backfired. Literally.
Man, they're using... That's a different type of torture.
Vietnamese urban legend of the midnight call. The midnight call is an urban legend that revolves around the mysterious phone call that occurs at midnight. It is said to be a supernatural phenomenon that can happen to unsuspecting individuals. According to the legend, at the stroke of midnight, the landline phone in the household will start ringing. The strange thing is that the phone call is not from any known person or even a recognizable phone number. Instead, it is believed to be a call from the spirit realm or an otherworldly entity. When the person answers the phone, they are greeted by a haunting voice on the other end. The voice may sound distant, eerie, or distorted. It delivers a cryptic message or a prophecy about the person's future. The contents of the message can vary widely, ranging from foretelling an upcoming event, warning about impending danger, or revealing secrets that were never known before. The caller may provide specific details or use symbolic language, making the message open to interpretation. The prophecy or message is often unsettling, leaving the person feeling uneasy or disturbed. Those who have experienced the midnight call report a mix of emotions, including fear, curiosity, and a sense of being connected to the supernatural. Some claim that the message they received during the call comes true in some form, leading to a series of strange occurrences or encounters following the call.
The midnight call. What do you guys think, man? You ain't picking up the phone off the midnight no more. Unless you know who it is, man. If it's unknown, decline, hang up. Seekers, if you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're a true one seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys to follow me on my social media so we stay connected. Links in the description down below. Comment, man. Like I said, even if you guys just want to say hi, it just helps us boost us in the algorithm. So really appreciate the support. Also, don't forget to hit that like button. Very important, man, on each and every single video. Guys, we're growing. I see the growth we're making each and every single video, each and every single day. So just really want to thank you guys for supporting the Seekers, man. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to get better with each and every video, man. Out. Peace, YouTube. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikToks, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank the supporters, man, who's been subscribed to the channel, hitting that post notification bell, hitting that like button, man. You're helping us grow our community, man, the Seekers. So I really appreciate that support, man. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, man. Seek the truth.
This girl took her mom's life on Facebook Live. On January 8th of this year, 28-year-old Tananzin Orris Beltran went with her mom, 55-year-old Olivia Lucia Beltran, to a Santa Rosa police station. Tananzin needed to go there because she needed to pick up her vehicle after it was impounded following an earlier chase. While at the police station, she filmed herself waving an open pocket knife in front of everybody. An officer stated that she was too mentally unstable to drive, but they still let her go home. At 5 p.m. that same day, Tananzin was on Facebook Live when she stabbed her mother. Viewers of the live ended up contacting police to let them know what they had just witnessed. When officers arrived to the scene, they noticed that Tananzin was on her balcony holding a knife in her hand. Right next to her was her mother, and her clothes were just soaked in blood. Tananzin failed to respond to commands, so a group of officers broke through the front door and she was arrested. Olivia suffered from numerous stab wounds and was rushed to a local hospital. Unfortunately, the surgeons were unable to overcome the extensive life-threatening injuries and she passed away. Detectives worked with Meta/Facebook and had the video removed. Tananzin was arrested on one count of murder and was being held without bail at Marin County Jail. To this day, there is still no clear motive on why she did this to her mother.
This man willingly allowed himself to be eaten alive by a cannibal. 43-year-old Armando Brands was an engineer from Berlin who always fantasized about being cannibalized by another human being. So, in 2001, he began searching the website Cannibal Cafe, which was, yes, a legitimate website, for anyone willing to cook him and eat him. On the Cannibal Cafe website, that Brands met 30-year-old computer technician Armin Muse. Armin also had a fantasy of cannibalizing human flesh, and so over the next few weeks, him and Brands messaged each other back and forth, discussing the best way to cook Brands' flesh and then dispose of his body after they were done. Finally, on March 9, 2001, Armando traveled to Armin's apartment and willingly allowed himself to be tied up before Armin began to try and chew off Armando's penis. Armin found that the penis was too chewy to bite off, so he instead castrated Armando with a knife before frying his severed penis in olive oil and then feeding it to him. After this, Armin proceeded to kill Armando by stabbing him in the neck and letting him bleed out in the bathtub for over 3 hours before he finally succumbed to his wounds. After Armando died, Armin proceeded to cut up his body into large chunks, storing them in a freezer, and over the next 6 months, he would consume over 44 pounds of Armando's flesh. Armin would be caught 6 months later after looking for another victim on the Cannibal Cafe website. Now, at first, prosecutors weren't sure how to go about this case because Armando willingly allowed all this to happen, and they know this because Armin recorded the entire thing. The castration, eating of the penis, and the entire time Armando was telling Armin that he wanted more. However, since people can't consent to their own murder, Armin was eventually found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. However, to this day, he still gets weekly visits out to the city where he can roam about and do as he pleases.
How the hell can he just get weekly roamings? And a website like that, man, actually existed. Blow my damn mind, man. Nowadays, man, I shouldn't be surprised, but you probably type in anything, man, on the web. it'll pop right back up, man. Stuff that shouldn't even be allowed, like cannibalism. Somebody want to be eating online and they found it just like that. It's internet, man. It gives you too much easy access to things we shouldn't have.
Because you are guilty, aren't you? Are you guilty, sir?
I accept my plea. Exactly.
Much as it was my honor and privilege to hear the sister survivors, it is my honor and privilege to sentence you. Because, sir, you do not deserve to walk outside of a prison ever again. You have done nothing to control those urges. The decision to assault was precise, calculated, manipulative, devious, despicable. I'm giving you 175 years, which is 2,100 months. I've just signed your death warrant.
Damn.
I need everyone to be quiet.
These villagers dig up.
Wasn't I think I remember seeing that case. Wasn't he like already? But didn't he work with like the Olympic team or something like that? And how he had that many access, man, because he was like a sports coach or something. And he got what he deserved. She signed, like she said, she signed his death warrant, man. They were clap as they should have been, bro.
Up their dead family members every 3 years, and you won't believe why. These people are from a village in Indonesia, and during the Reneem festival, they get their ancestors' corpses, clean them, then put them all out to dry, and dress them in new clothes as a ritual. And the reason is because they believe they're showing them love and respect.
Different cultures have different, they do different things, but it's kind of bizarre, man. Could you guys do that? I can't even think about doing that, burying up. Digging up your loved ones.
The legend of Bunnyman Bridge. In 1904, not far from this bridge in Fairfax County, Virginia, was a mental asylum. Nearby residents didn't like the fact that mental patients were near their new homes, so they had it shut down. While the patients were being transported, their bus crashed, and all were found except for one. A patient named Douglas Griffin, who disappeared into the nearby woods. In the upcoming weeks, bodies of rabbits were found strewn about the woods as if someone was eating them. On Halloween night, Douglas Griffin struck and killed a group of teenagers that were hanging out underneath of the bridge. They were gutted and hanged like dead rabbits. Now there is a ton of variations of this urban legend, but there is a slight bit of truth behind the origin of it. There was a police report from 1970 that said a person dressed in all white threw a hatchet at somebody's car. And the person had something on their heads, and that is where people filled in the blanks with it being rabbit ears. There was another report of a man running around with a hatchet and a bunny suit also in 1970. Who knows, maybe there really was a killer bunny man.
This man has been sentenced to 100 years in
it?
prison after doing the unthinkable to his daughter. Tony Valles is a 66-year-old from Helena. On the 10th of July 2022, he was at home with his partner Heather. Tony's 8-year-old daughter Ariana and his 18-year-old son were also at the house at the time. Suddenly, two women entered the property who he believed were evicting him. He flew into a violent rage and grabbed a weapon from his bedroom. At this point, he began shooting. He shot Heather and she fell to the floor, and then he shot at his son. His 8-year-old daughter tried to escape and run from the terror, but she was hit with gunfire. She was on the stairs when she was hit by a bullet and she fell back. She tragically died after being rushed to hospital. After his daughter's death, Tony stated, "I'm sorry for all this. I can't undo what I've done. The pain and the misery will last a lifetime, and I'm sorry for all that." Tony was sentenced to serve 100 years in prison.
This is the most unsettling show I've seen.
Disturbing things.
Netflix just released a show called Baby Reindeer, where a man named Donnie is relentlessly stalked by a middle-aged woman named Martha. But it's based on a real story, and the guy it happened to is playing the main character. So let's talk about the real events the show portrays. So in the show, Martha's obsession with Donnie starts after he offers a cup of tea for free. And according to the creator, that is really what started her 4-year obsession with him. Also, over the course of the stalking, the real Martha sent the creator 41,071 emails, 744 tweets, 46 Facebook messages, 106 pages of letters, and 350 hours of voicemail
She was
messages.
dedicated.
And the real texts and emails are featured in the show. One of the saddest real details of the show is that the creator does go to the police to try to report Martha, and they totally brush him off. They just don't feel like she's enough of a threat, even though she's showing up to all of his comedy shows, she's sending him that many messages, and she fully believes they're in a relationship. And the show is really interesting in that it portrays the gray area that the creator, Richard Gadd, faced while experiencing being stalked. This is a bit of a spoiler, but he himself was a survivor of sexual assault, so in a way, this kind of undying love was something that he craved. And in interviews, he says that he's not purely a victim, that this situation is really gray because sometimes he would indulge in the attention that she gave him. It's definitely worth watching if you haven't seen it already. It does get very intense at times, but let me know if you've seen it.
I seen that scrolling through Netflix a couple times on a recommended, but I really didn't know what it was about. But now that it's broken down for us, man. Any fellow seekers, they gonna check it out, man? Should I check it out? You guys can leave a review. I might have to check that out. Edit. Call it like I see it.
His life was taken for laugh reacting to a Facebook photo.
No way.
This is 18-year-old Isaiah Craig Fitzgerald, and he was from Missouri. On May 25th of 2023, Isaiah had came across this photo of 20-year-old Tanner Watkins and his girlfriend. He reacts to the Facebook photo with a laughing emoji. Tanner ends up responding to Isaiah saying, "What's funny?" and an argument begins. Tanner then ends up telling Isaiah that they should meet at a park to fight after a heated exchange.
An emoji?
At the agreed upon location, shots were fired from both vehicles. Isaiah was fatally shot and his girlfriend was seriously wounded. Police had responded to the scene after receiving reports of gunfire, and they stopped both vehicles as they were leaving. Isaiah was pronounced dead and his girlfriend was transported to a local hospital where doctors treated her injuries. Officers ended up confiscating weapons from both vehicles. Tanner and 18-year-old Caleb Ramsey were both taken into custody. Both pled not guilty to all charges and were acquitted in December of 2023. The judge had ordered a mistrial after the jury could not agree on a verdict. Tanner and Caleb were charged with 3 counts of murder, 3 counts of assault, unlawful use of a weapon, and 4 counts of armed criminal action.
The most terrifying prisoners of all time. This is Jamie Osuna, the man with 1,000 faces. In 2017, Jamie was sentenced to life in prison for the 2011 murder and torture of a woman from Bakersfield. During his court case, you can see him smirking, rolling his eyes, and mocking the family of the deceased, even giving a thumbs up as the judge announces his sentence. From there, he is transported to Corcoran State Prison, where things got worse. Way worse. He is given a cellmate, Luis Romero, who had spent more than 2 decades in prison himself. On March 9th, 2019, guards checked their cell and find the most gruesome scene. Romero had been beheaded and several of his body parts were removed and fashioned into a necklace worn by Jamie. Ha 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 had been written on the wall in blood, as well as the man with 1,000 faces.
Someone that freaking dangerous, man. He had to be probably put into solitary, like, as soon as he got there, man. Because obviously during the case you showed, saying they were showing no remorse, man, putting a thumbs up during the trial, and telling, man, those are the most dangerous people, man, who can do an action like that have no remorse. And look what happened. The man with 1,000 faces, man. Crazy. Haha, blood. That sounds like the Joker would do.
Prosecutors in the Brian Kohberger case have said that they are not buying his alibi. Kohberger's defense has spent months giving very few details about his alibi, essentially only saying that he was out driving around the night of the murders and that nobody could corroborate this. But then a couple weeks ago, they said that they have an expert witness that can testify about Kohberger's cell phone movements the night of the murders, placing him away from the house. but prosecutors are not buying it. And specifically, they said, quote, the defendant's alibi lacks specificity and state the specific place or places at which the defendant claims to have been at the time of the alleged offense, and the names and addresses of the witnesses upon whom he intends to rely to establish such alibi, according to Idaho Code 19-519. So essentially the prosecution is saying that Kohberger's alibi is not specific enough, and just because an expert witness can testify about his cell phone movements does not mean that it's a corroborating alibi, and that they need specific witnesses to be able to verify his alibi for it to be a proper alibi. The next hearing for the case has been scheduled for May 2nd. Other updates in the Kohberger case include that prosecutors are also moving to have the following hearing after the May 2nd hearing on May 14th be under seal. This is essentially to protect the information that is being disseminated to the public that could potentially taint the jury pool. And speaking of the potential jury pool, the judge has ruled that the defense can continue their surveys of the potential jury pool to determine if the potential jury pool knows about Brian Kohberger, because the defense is trying to get a change of venue. But that's all for the latest updates with Brian Kohberger. Things are just continuing to slowly move along.
The longest prison sentence
justice in that
history.
case.
At number 5 is Joseph Legend. He has served 67 years and 54 days in prison, and he was released earlier this year. He was convicted of murder at the age of 15. He was released at 83. At number 4 is Joseph Phillips, who served 68 years and 236 days. He was convicted in 1952 of raping a 5-year-old girl. He was paroled in March 2021. Third, with only 9 more days in prison, is Paul Goodell Jr. He served 68 years and 245 days. He was incarcerated in 1911 at the age of 17. He was released in 1980 at the age of 86. Once released, he died in a retirement home 7 years later at the age of 93.
Oh, that time,
in second place, and the only non-American on the list, is an Australian man by the name of Charles Fawcett. He was sentenced to life imprisonment after murdering an elderly man and stealing his boots. And before number 1, right, I'll go to prison next in the comments and leave your autocorrect finished. He'll write that you'll go to jail. And in number 1, it's Francis Clifford Smith. He's currently serving 72 years and 90 days. He was also sentenced to death for the murder of a night watchman on his way out of a nightclub. But his sentence was changed to life imprisonment in 1954, 2 hours before his scheduled execution. He was lucky.
Just like all that time gone. Basically, if you get over 50 or 60 years, that's a life sentence, man. Once you get out, all that time's wasted, man. Think before you act.
Signs of a societal collapse in a country are so often things you would never even think about. For example, a shocking study was recently published showing a concerning rise in people being found so long after death in the UK that their body had decomposed. And we're not talking about just days and weeks here. The study cited a number of cases like 38-year-old Laura Winham, who struggled with mental health problems and was found in a mummified, almost skeletal state at her flat in 2021, more than 3 years after she had died. She passed away in 2017, 3 years before the pandemic even began. The body of another 61-year-old woman, Shalia, was found badly decomposed in her flat in London in 2022, 2 years after she had died. The study said that men were more than twice as likely as women to be discovered long after death in a decomposed state, and also linked this tragic trend to loneliness, societal breakdown, and a loss of people's social connection. And that is sadly why
a 20-year-old cold case has had a major breakthrough after an eerie twist led to police identifying a teenage girl's remains. Midtown Jane Doe was found mysteriously entombed in cement in a former New York hotspot during construction in 2003. Investigators believe she was fatally strangled, bound with electrical wire, and wrapped in a carpet before being cemented into the building's basement. Now, Midtown Jane Doe has been identified as Patricia Kathleen McGlone, a girl from Brooklyn who was last seen in the late 1960s. DNA from a woman killed in the 9/11 attacks, also named Patricia, helped authorities identify the girl, as the two were related.
Gruesome facts
They both had the name Patricia, man, and that link is what led to that case breaking all those years ago. The things that we can line up in the universe in order for that to happen. This is crazy if you think about it.
You Didn't Know, Part 262. On August 17th of 1980, 9-week-old Azaria Chamberlain disappeared from the tent during a family camping trip. Mother Lindy reported she saw a wild dog leaving the tent and believed that her baby had been taken by dingoes in the Australian outback. Despite a frantic search, nothing was found and no body was ever discovered. Extensive press coverage of the incident portrayed the couple as monsters, and they received multiple death threats. Believing that the police were feeding information to the media, the entire court case was a madhouse and the public opinion hugely divided. Some believing they murdered their own child, others believing that dingoes really did take their baby. Their religious background stirred up rumors that cult-like activity had taken place, and at the time, dingoes were not generally seen as dangerous. But despite all the horrible and negative publicity, Lindy and husband Michael continued to plead their innocence. But on October 29th of 1982, she was sentenced to life in prison for murder, with Michael being charged as an accessory and sentenced to 18 months. After she spent 4 long years in prison and had no more legal routes to take, new evidence was discovered. Azaria's jacket was found partially buried in a highly populated dingo area. This led to her prison release in 1988, and both her and Michael were completely exonerated of all charges. In 2012, a coroner issued the final report on the case, confirming that their baby had been taken and eaten by dingoes.
So she was right all along, man. It goes to show you how sometimes, like, public opinion, it's a powerful thing, man, because if you get the public on your side, it can get people to believe anything, even if it's untrue. Scary times we live in.
Breaking news, the remains of 6 women have been found inside of a man's apartment. Authorities say the investigation began when he allegedly broke into a neighbor's apartment on April 16th. From there, he essayed and strangled a 17-year-old girl. The victim's mother returned home shortly after and saw the man leaving. It was at that point he slashed her throat and then fled. According to authorities, the mother was able to survive, however, the daughter did not. With the mother's assistance, they were able to identify the suspect only as, quote, Miguel. After the incident, they searched his apartment and, quote, clearly indicated we are looking at a possible serial killer of women. Authorities also confirmed that notebooks were located that, quote, may well be narrations of the acts that Miguel carried out against his victims. In addition, they found cell phones and ID cards belonging to multiple women. They said that 5 of the ID cards found belonged to women who have been located alive. However, they did not specify how many belonged to women who are still missing or deceased. Prosecutors did confirm that there were remains of 6 women found in his rented room. Quote, other biological material was also found in the rooms. In addition to the ID cards and cell phones found, they also found bones, B-L-O-O-D, and a saw. At this time, authorities have not provided any further details. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments.
This is a cannibal that used the gay dating app Grindr to find victims so he could eat them. So on Christmas Eve 2019, 25-year-old Kevin Bacon told his roommate that he was going out for the evening to meet up with a man that he had recently been talking to on the dating app Grindr. Now, after 3 days, Kevin failed to come home or contact any of his friends or family, and they started to get worried, and they eventually went to the police to issue a missing person warning. Later on the day that he was reported missing, Kevin's car was actually found abandoned in a parking lot, along with all of his clothes and his cell phone. Using his cell phone, police were able to actually access his Grindr account and see that the last person he had messaged on there was a man named Mark Lutunsky. Police were able to track down Mark Lutunsky, and they asked him if they could look around his house for a bit, and he actually happily agreed. However, when police went down to the basement, they made an absolutely horrific discovery. Hanging from the rafters by his ankles was the nude body of Kevin Bacon. His throat had been slashed, his body had been drained of blood, and most shocking of all, he had actually been castrated. Upon further questioning, Mark happily admitted that he had actually castrated Kevin and then fried up his testicles and ate them, and that he was planning to use a food dehydrator on the rest of Kevin's body so he could preserve it and eat it later. After Mark was arrested for the death of Kevin, police actually discovered that he had had several previous run-ins with the law in the months leading up to the death. 2 men on 2 previous occasions actually called 911 stating that they had escaped from Mark's basement after he drugged them, tied them up, and was planning to torture them. In both cases, police just chalked it up to a gay dispute, and they didn't actually look further into it. Mark was quickly found guilty of Kevin's death, and now he's currently serving life in prison.
This man vanished from the top of a mountain in New York and was found 6 days later in California with no memory how he got there. This is easily one of the most bizarre disappearances and reappearances that I've ever heard of. If you've never heard of this story before, buckle up because it's wild. 49-year-old Canadian firefighter Danny was skiing at White Base Mountain in New York when he vanished. It was the last day of their ski trip. All of Danny's friends had gotten tired and had headed back down to the ski lodge to wait for Danny, who wanted to do one more trip down the mountain, but Danny never returned. Danny was missing on top of one of the highest mountains in the area. Everyone's thinking that there must have been some kind of terrible accident. All of Danny's belongings are still back at his resort: his car, his passport, his ID, his phone. A huge manhunt was being done on the mountain, but as the days went by, the chances of finding Danny alive were slim. Then, 6 days after he vanished, Danny was found alive on the complete other side of the country, over 2,500 miles away in California. Danny was still wearing the ski outfit that he disappeared in 6 days earlier, with a new haircut, a new cell phone, and no memory of the past 6 days. Eventually, Danny was able to recall that he believes that he was the passenger in a big rig truck at one of those points and thought that he must have suffered some kind of head injury. But he had an examination at a hospital that found that he had 0 injuries at all. Extensive investigations were done in both California and New York that brought forth no answers. 6 months after Danny disappeared, he was able to recall a couple more big details, but honestly it wasn't much. Now here are some of the most highly believed theories that you can find online. Could Danny have gotten a concussion on the mountain that resulted in some kind of memory loss? It sounds plausible, but a lot of doctors that have looked at this case have said that it's unlikely because memory loss after head trauma usually only lasts at most 48 hours, not 6 days. And apparently Danny didn't even have any injuries to begin with when he was found. Some also believe that maybe Danny was abducted by aliens who dropped him back off on the wrong side of the country. Some people also believe that maybe Danny wanted to disappear on purpose and start a new life, but then got cold feet. Honestly, I have no idea what I think happened. This story for real sounds like something out of fiction. To this day, we still have no idea what happened to Danny during those 6 days that he was missing, but let me know what you think happened in the comments.
As well, man, drop it down below. What do you guys think happened? He was at the top of the mountain 6 days later, unscathed, on the opposite side of the country, man. Like they said, memory loss. They say aliens abducted him. I mean, you never know. He could have fell through a portal or something. I don't know. I'm definitely going to have to check into that, man. Try to see the reports. See if he, like you said, he recalls some more vague details about it. We definitely got to check that one out. You guys, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a truth seeker, seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, tell me down below, guys, if you guys liking this new style that I'm trying out, man. Like I said, I'm saving my thoughts until after the video plays. I'm trying to pause way less. If you guys can see over the past couple of videos, I've paused way less, man. And like I said, I'm just trying to bring you guys the best content I possibly can. I'm trying to grow this community, seekers. I believe we can do this, man. So I just need you guys' help by spreading the word, man. If you just subscribe to the channel, hit that post notification bell, hit that like button, man. You guys are doing me a huge favor. You guys gonna catch in the next one, man. We're doing daily uploads this month as well. Might even get double on some days. I don't know yet. I'm out. Peace, seekers. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing all right, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do here, man. We break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, man. From YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank my supporters, man, who's tapping in with the channel, subscribing, hitting that like button, man, spreading the word about the channel. Great appreciate that, man. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best. Let's seek the truth.
Fascinating as fuck. Jeremy Meeks, the man whose mugshot was so sexy that it landed him a modeling contract while he was still in jail. He served 13 months, and shortly after his release, he walked in New York Fashion Week. Eric Money is the only player to score points for both teams in a single NBA game. When the Nets played the Sixers in 1978, he scored for the Nets before being traded to the Sixers in the middle of the game. In World War II, British soldiers used well bikes, a small motorcycle that could fit in an air canister and be dropped out of planes with a parachute. On New Year's Eve in 2020, a friendly soccer match was played between rival drug cartels. However, it quickly became not so friendly when the match ended with 16 deaths and 5 severe injuries. During the making of Prince of Egypt, animators who failed or messed up were sent to work on Shrek. This was seen as a form of punishment known as getting Shreked.
Getting Shreked? You guys, seekers, man, that proves right there, bro. You never know what could happen, man. They got sent as a form of punishment, but Shrek, you know, that kicked off that franchise, man. So you never know, man, what life's gonna take, what road it's gonna push you down, man. One door closes, another opportunity opens, man. But that's crazy, man. I heard about that fashion guy, you know, who was in jail, but they liked him so much he became like a, I guess, big fashion star icon. I ain't kind of believe it at first, but it confirmed it. Tap in with us, man.
This mother and her 10-month-old baby were murdered by the cartel. 16-year-old Alyssa Perez was found deceased holding her 10-month-old baby, Nicholas, in a ditch in Tulare, California. Officers arrived to the home around 4 a.m. after someone called police about a large number of gunshots. When they entered the home, they found another victim in the doorway, and there were 3 more bodies inside, including an older woman. All the victims were murdered by a gunshot to the head, and 2 other women actually survived by hiding in a nearby trailer. It's been said that Alyssa tried to run away with her baby, but then she was found and murdered. Investigators believe that this was a gang-related attack and that they were trying to send a message. But after further investigation, police records revealed that the week prior, a search warrant was done on the property and guns, marijuana, and meth were found, which is why they concluded that this crime was drug-related. Police also mentioned that the manner and swiftness of the killings suggested that the men were experienced in murder.
So it was
What
targeted.
was the Cincinnati Crawler? In 1974, the Johnson family in Cincinnati noticed a couple of weird things happening in their home. Their 14-year-old daughter, Claire, would complain of seeing glowing eyes outside her window at night, and the feeling of being watched. One night, the youngest son, Timmy, was laying in bed in the dark when he felt the family dog jump onto his bed. Except that when he went to pet it, it wasn't the dog, but the Cincinnati Crawler, who immediately fled the scene. Till date, police think that the Crawler is responsible for the disappearance of 4 other boys in the area. While some believe that he was an escaped convict, others believe that he was actually the victim of human experiments that may have been conducted by the family's dad. However, we only know what he looks like from a photo Claire snapped before he escaped, leading many to wonder.
We need to talk.
The Cincinnati Crawler. What the hell? And it's kind of weird that he's never been caught to this day, I'm guessing. Like, imagine, yeah, you think it's a dog you pet, and it's a whole person, man, just in your house wearing that type of mask. How would you guys respond? That's just something you don't even think about, man. How the hell are you in a house? These are questions, man, we need to be asking ourselves.
Talk about this photo, because Josh Maddox was found inside this chimney with his knees bent over his head, and he had been there for 7 years. But what happened to him, and how did he end up stuck inside a chimney for that long? Allegedly, Josh went out on a walk one day and completely disappeared, until one day a builder from Colorado Springs wanted to demolish his old abandoned cabin, and that's when Josh was found curled up and mummified inside the chimney. But the strange thing is, even though his body was found with his knees bent over his head, there were no injuries or broken bones. The coroner who performed Josh's autopsy believes he crawled up the chimney himself, and he curled up in that position to protect himself from something. But this case gets even more bizarre from here. Not only was Josh found in such an unnatural position, but he was found only wearing a thermal suit. The rest of his clothes were in the cabin, neatly folded. So why would he fold up his clothes and then crawl up the chimney? The chimney also had a heavy steel mesh grate built into it, so it would have been impossible for anyone to slide back down the chimney. Many people disagree, but this terrible incident was eventually ruled as an accident, even though we'll never truly know what Josh wanted to protect himself from by crawling up the chimney. Follow for more.
Was that an accident?
thinking about ignoring your gut instinct, don't. Here are 3 reasons why you should trust it. BuzzFeed user Vodka Sunshine said that when she was in college, there was this really cute guy in one of her classes. A week or 2 in, they had to work together on a small project, and she was pretty excited about the opportunity to get to know him. After speaking to him though, she got a really bad vibe from him, but nothing specific that she could put her finger on. She said that she lost all attraction to him and knew that she should keep her distance. A month or 2 later, their teacher announced that the guy had been arrested for murdering a girl he was dating. Reddit user Helios21 said that he was at a club on a boardwalk with some buddies in Puerto Rico. He said that he just didn't feel right and he told them that they should leave. They fussed and moaned, but eventually they all left. Before they even hit the parking lot, a massive shootout broke out inside the club. The front door guy was shot to death and a few of the people inside were as well. It was literal pandemonium, people screaming and running everywhere. The ride back to their place was quiet, but they all knew they got really lucky that night. Reddit user BreakTD said that over 20 years ago when he was 17 or so, 2 of his buddies came to pick him up to get the night started. He got in the back of their car, but as soon as he sat down, he had a feeling of impending doom rush over him. He said that he had never felt that feeling before, and never felt it since. He immediately asked to be let out with some excuse and said that they would catch up later. He got out, and he said the feeling quickly faded, so he went on about his day. About 2 hours later, he catches up with some other friends, and they immediately tell him that the 2 friends that came to pick him up earlier were involved in a major car accident. Both were seriously hurt and in the hospital. The accident happened about 10 minutes after they tried to pick him up. They both survived. The car did not survive though. It was struck in the passenger side rear right, where he would have been sitting. Reddit user BreakTD said that he was pretty positive after seeing the damage done that he would not have survived. The orphan.
Hey man, you gotta trust our gut feelings, because they, even though you know some people may try to knock and be like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, but no, your gut feeling, like if you feel something that's not right or you feeling vibe is off or something, just trust it. As it was shown here today, man, it can literally save your life.
Was based on a real story. In 2007, a 33-year-old Czech Republic woman named Barbara Swirlova used her rare disease, hypoparathyroidism, to pose as a 13-year-old girl and trick 2 sisters, Clara and Katerina Marova, into adopting her. She quickly took advantage of the schizophrenic sisters and manipulated them into joining a cult called the Grail Movement, which promoted child abuse and cannibalism, amongst other aberrations. Barbara soon got jealous of Clara's biological children and schemed to get rid of them. She broke things and pinned the blame on the 2 children and convinced the 2 sisters that they needed to be punished in the form of torture. Eventually, a neighbor caught the signal of a wireless camera and reported them to the police, but not before Barbara posed as a 12-year-old girl called Annika and got adopted by another family, fleeing the country. Eventually, she was caught and extradited to the Czech Republic, but did you know that?
She pulled that off 2 times. How the hell does she do that?
If you've seen enough of my videos, you probably think you know what's in that suitcase, but you're wrong. In May of 2004, several pieces of luggage washed up on a shore in Virginia, each case containing the body parts of an unidentified person. Immediately, an investigation was launched, and a facial reconstruction of the body led to Melanie McGuire. Melanie, who was having an affair with her boss, had purchased a gun and shot her husband Bill multiple times. She then dismembered his body, packed it into 3 separate suitcases, and dumped them into Chesapeake Bay. And on July 19th, 2007, at the age of 34, Melanie McGuire was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison.
So crying, like what the hell?
Cameron realized he was sentenced to 24 years in prison. Cameron was a normal 18-year-old boy living in Tampa, Florida in 2018. He had also recently graduated high school, and to congratulate him, his parents got him a black Ford Mustang.
Damn.
On May 23, 2018, Cameron and his brother Tristan had gone to a local gym. While they were there, they had also run into an old friend of theirs named John Barreneau. Once they were done at the gym, all 3 of the friends got into their cars. Cameron and Tristan were in the black Ford Mustang, while John was in his own car. As they approached a street light, both of the cars were side by side, and that's where they got the brilliant idea to do some street racing. Both of the cars sped up very quickly, reaching over 100 miles an hour.
Sheesh.
At the same time, a mother and her young child were crossing the street. Unfortunately, the cars were just going way too fast in order for her to make it across the street in time. Her name was Jessica and her daughter's name was Lilia. And unfortunately, it was a direct hit. John was able to swerve past her, but unfortunately, Cameron ended up hitting her head on. All Cameron could do was watch Jessica and Lilia's bodies fly into the air as he hit them. Moments after the crash, Jessica's husband David Romanel passed by in his own car. At the time that he was passing by, he had no idea that his wife had just been involved in a major accident. He noticed there was a huge crowd of people looking at the accident, but he just wanted to get home and hope that no one had gotten hurt too badly. David then tried to call his wife, but she wasn't answering, and when he went home, she wasn't there either. He then figured that she must have seen the accident, so he went to go see for himself. And when he got there, that's when he noticed that his wife and baby stroller was right there in the middle of the street. Immediately, chills went down his spine when he realized that his wife and daughter had been the victims of this horrible accident. Unfortunately, Jessica passed away the same day as the accident, and Lilia tried to fight, but she passed away the following day. Immediately, both Cameron and John were charged since they were the ones driving. John took a plea deal and was given 6 years in prison with 15 years of probation. Cameron took an open plea, but to his surprise and his family's surprise, he was given 24 years in prison. And right away, people were absolutely torn about this decision. The judge believed that Cameron had shown no remorse, and he also had a history of racing recklessly. Meanwhile, supporters of Cameron believed that the punishment was way too harsh, considering that he was 18 years old when the entire thing happened. And today, he's still in prison. Let me know what you guys think.
It's time for...
What do you guys think about that? I mean, he had a history of that, man, and I knew once you said they were side to side, man. People were really thinking it's Fast and Furious out there. It's not, man. It's real life. You just can't race all over the streets because you never know what's going to happen. And look at the end result.
For cookies and crime. We're still on the topic of love or lack thereof, and this case is Clara Harris. Clara Harris was a Colombian immigrant and was named Mrs. Columbia Houston and worked as a dentist. She married David Harris on February 14th, 1992. Coincidence? I think not. David was an orthodontist, and together they owned a chain of dental offices. They had successful businesses, and the couple was able to afford an upscale home and lifestyle in Friendswood, Texas. On the outside, they seemed happily married. They had 3 kids, a nice house, and a couple of expensive cars. Life was great right up until David admitted he was having an affair with his former receptionist. Desperate to keep her husband, Clara tried everything to win him back. She quit her job and began working out. She dyed her hair, worked on her tan, and even scheduled a breast enhancement surgery. But when her plans failed, she got even more desperate. Clara hired a private detective to tail the 2 lovebirds, and on July 24th, 2002, she got a call. The investigator had followed the couple to the Nassau Bay Hilton.
Oh, man.
And to add insult to injury, that's the same hotel where Clara and David had gotten married. Infuriated, Clara grabbed her keys and her 16-year-old stepdaughter, David's biological daughter, and sped off in her Mercedes. When she reached the Hilton, Clara stormed inside the lobby and attacked her rival, staring at her until they were escorted outside by hotel security. Still on a high of adrenaline and furious, Clara rushed back to her car, and as the adulterers walked away outside, she hit the gas with her stepdaughter in the car. The car slammed into David, sending him into the air, and even before touching the ground, Clara hit him again. This time, she waited for David to land before running him over 3 times. Ironically, her private investigator was there and had recorded the whole incident. Clara's daughter spoke against her having been in the car. She was found guilty of murdering her husband, and on February 14th, 2003, a trend here, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison, the maximum sentence allowed by the jury's sudden passion finding. The murder was ruled a crime of passion. I don't know about you guys, but I find the ruling of crime of passion so interesting because it's a ruling that considers people's emotions and how sometimes it's so uncontrollable it makes us do crazy things. Clara was released on parole May 11th, 2018 and was released from parole this month.
careful who you get in a relationship to, man. See, because I've been saying
This is
that.
part 2 on the case of 16-year-old Susana Morales and how a police officer has been accused of murdering her. Near Susana's body, police found that belonged to 22-year-old Miles Bryant, who was currently a police officer for the Doraville Police Department. When detectives discovered that a police officer was found near the crime scene, they were very confused. I mean, this can't really be a coincidence. They start looking deeper into Miles, and that's when they discovered that on July 27th, Miles actually reported as missing. He claims he accidentally left his truck unlocked and that someone broke into the truck, they stole his weapon, they stole his military ID, and they also stole his wallet. Now, Miles filed this police report at around 11 a.m. on July 27th, just 2 hours after Susana's family had reported her as missing. Now, what are the odds that this guy's weapon was stolen 2 hours after Susana was reported missing? And then that same weapon was found near Susana's body. Just didn't make sense, so detectives looked further into him, and that's when they discovered that Miles Bryant actually lived at the Sterling Glen Apartments, the same apartments that Susana was at the night that she disappeared. Not only did he live there, but he also worked as a courtesy security officer for the building. Now, all of this is no longer a coincidence, so on February 13th, 2023, 22-year-old Miles Bryant was arrested and charged for the murder and kidnapping of 16-year-old Susana Morales. He was also accused of filing a false police report since he claims that his weapon was stolen, but in reality, it wasn't. When Susana's family heard that a police officer was arrested for her murder, they just couldn't believe it. They said that a police officer being involved was the last thing that they ever suspected. They never thought to themselves, oh, maybe a cop did it. Like, this was just so surprising. Family says that they had no idea who Miles Bryant was and that they don't believe that Susana knew him. Police have also come out and said that they haven't been able to find any type of connection between Susana or Miles Bryant. This possibly is a stranger-on-stranger crime. So this is what police think happened. The night of July 26, 2022, Susana Morales did leave the Sterling Glen Apartments at around 9:40 p.m. Then, somewhere between 10 p.m. and 10:30 p.m., detectives believe that Susana encountered Bryant and that he possibly offered her a ride home. He did have his patrol car with him. He would always take it home with him. So police don't know if he did use his car or his power as a police officer to lure Susana into his car. Maybe he saw Susana walking home by herself and he decided to approach her and said, oh, I'm a cop, I can give you a ride home. It's possible that he did use his power as a police officer to get Susana to get inside his vehicle and to trust him. Detectives believe that somewhere between 10 p.m. and 2 o'clock in the morning on July 27th, Susana was killed. The cause of death has not been revealed yet, but at this time detectives don't believe that she was... Yes, the weapon was found near her body, but they don't believe that's what killed her. As police dug further into Bryant, they discovered that he had a history of stalking and harassing women. For now, Bryant remains behind bars, and I just really hope that Susana Morales gets the justice that she deserves.
Buster Murdaugh has finally put out a statement. Buster is the son of Alec Murdaugh, a former South Carolina lawyer who was recently convicted of murdering his wife and son, aka Buster's mother and brother. Buster testified for his father's defense in the trial, but there have also been a lot of rumors and suspicion around Buster's involvement in the death of a 19-year-old man, Stephen Smith. Stephen Smith was found dead on the side of the road on July 8th, 2015. One pathologist said that it seemed that he had been hit by a vehicle. However, the team that responded to the scene said that there were no vehicle debris, no skid marks, or injuries consistent with someone being struck by a vehicle.
Really?
There was no real evidence that he was struck, but his death basically was ruled accidental. About 2 years ago, when investigators started looking into the deaths of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh, they also reopened the investigation into Stephen Smith's death. This was because of information that they learned while investigating the murders. There has recently been a lot of suspicion online that Buster and or Paul could have been involved in Stephen's death. Since then, Stephen's family have raised money to exhume his body and do a private independent autopsy. They are seeking a new, unbiased look at his body and an accurate determination of his cause of death based on facts. This will be happening soon, and they are hopeful that he will get justice. Since Buster's father was convicted of the murders, there's been a lot of suspicion around him and his potential involvement in Stephen Smith's death. Nothing has been proven, and it's all alleged so far. But today, Buster Murdaugh came out with a statement. He said, I have tried my best to ignore the vicious rumors about my involvement in Stephen Smith's tragic death that continue to be published in the media as I grieve over the brutal murders of my mother and brother. I love them so much and miss them terribly. I haven't spoken up until now because I want to live in private while I cope with their deaths and my father's Before, during, and since my father's trial, I have been targeted and harassed by media and followers of this story. This has gone on far too long. These baseless rumors of my involvement with Stephen and his death are false. He continued, I unequivocally deny any involvement in his death, and my heart goes out to the Smith family. I'm requesting that the media immediately stop publishing these defamatory comments and rumors about me. So as I said, everything that has come out about Buster's potential involvement in Stephen's death is alleged. Nothing has been proven. Hopefully the new independent autopsy will provide some answers and clarity as to what happened to Stephen. And hopefully if he was killed by somebody and his death was not an accident, he will get justice.
What do you guys think, Seekers? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that wasn't adding up about the case, but they say it was alleged so far. I mean, we're just going to have to check that up and see if anything else happened with that case. To see if there's more to it. Sounds like it.
Story of Khaleesi William, a 16-year-old girl murdered while recording what would be her last TikTok video. Disclaimer: the video is to bring awareness to Khaleesi Williams' story and meant to cause no harm. Please pray for the friends and the family of the victim. Atlanta, Georgia, gained national news in 2020 after a horrifying death of a young girl. In December 2020, Khaleesi Williams, a 16-year-old high school student, received an invite to a party that was going to be held at an Airbnb. This party would be chaperoned by an adult. Khaleesi's stepfather, Ronnie Savoy, encouraged her to go to the event since she had been confined to her house since the lockdown due to COVID-19.
Okay.
Supposed to be at an Airbnb with a couple of more friends from school and the mother. They'd have done this once before, so we was a little comfortable of letting her go the second time. And we spoke to the mother, and she said she was going to be there.
April Smith, Khaleesi's mother, agreed with her daughter getting some time out of the house and enjoying herself. The chaperone informed Khaleesi's parents that the event would be an Airbnb party for children, and that she would be responsible for everything. The parents felt at ease and decided that sending Khaleesi to spend the night would be good for her.
Alright.
At 12:02 a.m., Khaleesi is seen performing a dance routine in her TikTok video when someone suddenly entered her room without knocking. The teen looked shocked and afraid that suddenly stopped filming her video. The sound of gunshots could be heard from her room a few minutes later. Partygoers were unaware of what happened to Khaleesi. Two guys discovered Khaleesi on the floor of her hotel room. They carried her to the elevator while holding her from behind and supporting her legs. As of 12:27 a.m., authorities had been notified about an earlier disturbance at Hyatt Regency. Following their arrival, the cops went to check on Khaleesi. She wasn't breathing and had no pulse. She was then transferred to the hospital, where she remained for some time. The medical staff tried to save Khaleesi's life but were unsuccessful. The 16-year-old was pronounced dead in the hospital. Khaleesi's parents called the chaperone to check on the well-being of their child, but were only informed about their child's death 8 hours after she passed. It was a shock to Khaleesi's parents to learn of what had happened to their daughter. They were enraged because the chaperone had failed to tell them sooner of the occurrence.
The hotel room was in her name, so I feel like she should be held accountable for my daughter's death as well.
They didn't learn the group was staying at a Hyatt Regency until they received a horrific call the next day.
Like, this is the morgue. And I was like, the morgue? They was like, yes, ma'am. They was like, well, we're waiting on your daughter's body to come through.
What the fuck?
I'm like, whoa.
Khaleesi's parents say that call didn't come until 8:45 a.m. The teen was pronounced dead at 12:23 in the morning.
Khaleesi's parents were also unaware that the party had moved to Hyatt Regency Hotel instead of the Airbnb that was previously discussed. The parents felt like the chaperone should be held accountable for the tragedy that happened to their daughter, since she took responsibility for the safety of the children at the party, and her parents only allowed Khaleesi to attend the party on the assurance that the chaperone would look after her. The Atlanta Police Department reports that Khaleesi knew her attacker. Anthony Grant, the police spokesman of the Atlanta Police Department, reported as follows. Preliminary investigation suggests that the victim was inside of a room at the Hyatt Regency with a juvenile male companion. A verbal dispute occurred between both parties which resulted in the juvenile male fatally shooting the victim. The juvenile is a 16-year-old boy, but identity is being concealed. The 16-year-old boy was taken into custody by Atlanta police and taken to Atlanta Police headquarters for additional questioning. At this time, the boy admitted to shooting Khaleesi after they got into a heated argument. Police then arrested the boy and charged him with felony murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a gun by someone younger than 18 years of age.
Damn.
The defendant is now being tried in an Atlanta court pending the court's ultimate judgment. Calicia's parents also hold the hotel staff responsible for her child's death, and they protested outside of the Hyatt Regency Hotel along with supporters to express their outrage at the hotel's negligence that resulted in their daughter's death.
I want the surveillance footage of what happened, you know, who went.
She should be able to get that footage. I mean, it's her daughter. There's a lot of misinformation, man, on our party. They say it was at a B&B. It was going to be at an Airbnb. It turned out to be at a hotel. The chaperone, I don't know what the hell they were doing that allowed that to happen, man. It's supposed to be monitoring the party, and look what happened. You can't even go to a simple party nowadays, man. And they be so young, bro. And they be doing this type of things. They really, truly don't think out their actions, seekers. It's crazy. You guys, if you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're a real one supporting the channel, seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, subscribe to the channel, hit that post notification bell, hit that like button, man. Also, man, tell me down below, once again, if you guys don't like my new reaction style. Pause and letting the video play through. I'm just trying to give you guys the best content as possible, man. Also, man, let me know. Also, tell me down below if you guys like the new thumbnails, man. I'm trying to really up my game, especially, man, with someone coming up, man. We're grinding. Guys, gonna catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, seekers. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, man, we break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook videos, man. Anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank you guys for the support who's been tapping into the channel, subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, hitting that like button, man. I really appreciate the support. It allows me to put back into the channel. And yeah, that's what we do best, seekers. Let's seek the truth. What we got today?
This is why you should fear for your life if you buy or sell items on Facebook Marketplace. 56-year-old Denise Williams of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, wanted to buy a refrigerator for her boyfriend. She found one listed on Facebook Marketplace. The seller was 26-year-old Joshua Gorgon. Denise went to his apartment alone to check out the fridge, but never came out. On Monday, she was reported missing by her family, and police were able to track her using her phone and information from a Facebook account. She was found dead from multiple stab wounds at Joshua's apartment. Joshua was arrested and charged with criminal homicide. When he was interviewed by Cambria County detectives, he admitted to stabbing Williams to death with a kitchen knife following an argument over the cost of the refrigerator. The mystery of Kate Yup is...
That right there, man, is exactly what. If you guys gonna meet up somebody to buy something like online from Marketplace or something like that, always make sure it's in a public area. Never meet them at their house or a location of their choosing, man. You have to do it in a public meetup, a public setting, because you never know what can happen, man. Like you said, they was disputing over the price, and look what that turned out. Never go to a person's place, man. Especially if you're buying something online. No.
Still very much unexplained. Kate Yup was a YouTuber who would make mukbang videos where she would eat excessive amounts of food. These were not normal videos. Kate was eating aggressively fast, almost like she was being starved or she was forced. She also wears a blindfold in every video, so her identity is completely unknown. But viewers became seriously concerned when they started to notice warning signs that Kate might be under someone's control. There are indicators that there was somebody else in that room with her while she's eating all of this food. You can hear him breathing in the background of her videos. She's eating so fast that in one video she actually chips her teeth, and when she shows them to the camera, these are teeth that are rotted. But the most compelling evidence to support that Kate Yup could be a victim of trafficking are the cryptic messages that she's left in the text editing of her videos. Since this all kind of blew up in the media, the channel has gone totally dark, and there hasn't been a new video in a year.
Barbie has a much creepier
history than
I thought. I'm going to show you some theories about Barbie that have been keeping me up at night. And I cover all sorts of creepy and true crime stuff, so follow along. In 2010, Barbie released a doll that had a camera on her necklace as well as a video screen on her back.
Come
This
again?
doll has since been discontinued, but there's a lot of rumors about what happened to this footage when it was recorded. So people have always theorized that the footage was collected and sold either by Mattel or by someone more nefarious. And it's been mentioned how easy it would have been for hackers to collect and sell all this data. The FBI even put out a statement about it. Barbie also released and discontinued the Hello doll, which could listen to children and respond with over 8,000 pre-recorded answers. A lot of parents worried that these dolls were potentially recording their children and then selling that data, but this doll also has really concerning reviews. Like, people say that the doll won't take no for an answer. Like, if she asked if you wanted to hear a story and then you said no, she would actually push back and then just tell you the story anyways.
What?
And the doll would also ask really specific and targeted questions about children, like how big their families were and if they had any siblings. Was this doll just collecting market data on children, or was it something much weirder?
No one could work out why this child kept getting sick. So doctors took a look at the cameras that were set up in the room, and what they saw gave them chills. 9 days after Garrett Spears was born, he was admitted to hospital. Since then, Lacey Spears would care for her son through a myriad of illnesses. No one could figure out why young Gareth kept getting sick. Lacey, the dutiful single mother, would document his illnesses online. She created an online blog where she would chronicle her struggles and document her struggles to find a cure for whatever illness Garrett had. In 2014, Gareth, age 5, was rushed to hospital. Doctors again couldn't quite work out what made him sick, but they were able to treat his symptoms and he made a full recovery. Doctors were gearing up to discharge him. However, within a few short hours, Gareth took a turn for the worst, and without warning, he sadly passed away. The hospital staff were devastated, but very confused as to what had happened. So they did a blood test, and that's where they found something very disturbing. Garrett had deadly levels of sodium in his blood. He had been suffering from sodium poisoning, which meant someone was poisoning him. So when hooked up to certain machines in the hospital, there are cameras. They took a look at those cameras, and they saw what was happening. His mother, Lacey, had been poisoning him with sea salt. Lacey was arrested. She was diagnosed with Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and she was sentenced to 25 years. My name's Harves, and I tell 17 crime stories. For more, remember to follow.
Just for some clout? People have to be better, man. When clout comes into the picture, they just lose all sense of morality. Never fails, man. Clout is one of the most dangerous drugs there's out there nowadays.
And shoot Geoward in the back 12 times, killing him instantly. With her son-in-law's body on the kitchen floor, Cynthia went on with her birthday celebrations, first going to a local cafe for breakfast, then to a casino, and finally to her favorite coffee shop, where she was brought into questioning by police. And what followed is an interrogation that would make anyone's blood curdle.
Come here.
I'm sorry!
We're just gonna put handcuffs on just for now. Where's the knife?
Sorry, Dad, we're sorry, I don't know what's that.
This is police body cam footage that depicts a 12-year-old girl after she just stabbed and killed her 9-year-old brother. She's seen crying and apologizing to police and her mother repeatedly. This would take place on Friday night in Oklahoma.
Just sit there for a second. You don't have the knife on you, right?
No, I swear I don't. I'm
Sorry.
sorry. I don't. I'm sorry.
It would be nighttime and the one parent would be sleeping upstairs when the 12-year-old daughter would stab her 9-year-old brother repeatedly in the chest. She then would go upstairs to wake up her parent to inform them of what she had just done.
I was upstairs in my room and I threw it out the window and it's not in the apartment right here.
You threw it where?
I threw it out my window upstairs. Not right there. It's the room. It's the other room. It's right behind the apartment. This apartment right here.
The young girl will be taken into custody and is currently being held at the Family Center for Juvenile Justice.
The hell made her do that? See how we looking around?
Yeah.
So this is death row inmate Taylor Parker, who went to extreme lengths to cover up her lies. She even killed a pregnant woman in order to steal the baby from her womb, just to prove she was really pregnant. So picture here we have Taylor and her boyfriend Wade, and and what appears to be a baby bump. What later is found out is just an actual prosthetic baby bump, not a real one. She was covering up this entire time, pretending to be pregnant so that Wade would not leave her. Now, she couldn't have gotten pregnant because she had a hysterectomy several years earlier, but Wade was unaware of this. Well, that's where Reagan comes into play, because Reagan actually was pregnant around the same time that Taylor said she was pregnant. And she knew Reagan because she had been a photographer at Reagan's wedding. Now, Taylor's perpetrating this lie the entire time. So even holding a gender reveal party and going to ultrasound, sending fake images to her boyfriend. He never gets to go into the doctor's office. She keeps telling him, oh, sorry, it's COVID, you're not allowed to go back there. So he begins to grow a little suspicious of the whole thing, especially after when the day she was supposed to be induced, his house catches on fire and a bomb threat at the hospital they were supposed to be induced at occurs. And then she becomes 3 weeks late on her pregnancy. That's when Wade's mother pulls him aside and says, you know, I actually think you're onto something. She's probably not pregnant. Wade confronts her once again about the whole thing, and she says, watch, I'm going to get induced at a hospital in Oklahoma, and you will see. So Friday, she sets up an appointment to be induced. So that morning, Wade actually goes to a hog sale because he was supposed to go down to this sale about 4 hours from their house, come back, drive her to the hospital, and watch the baby be induced. Well, ends up being that he goes there and it was a false. She had set this up for him to actually go to this hog hunt so she could go see Reagan and murder her, and she does. Sadly, she goes over to her friend's house, attacks her, stabs her with a scalpel that she had over 100 times while her little daughter is standing right there. Then she cuts open her stomach and extracts the baby from it and rushes towards the hospital. She gets pulled over for speeding and says, hey, look, I just had this baby. It's unresponsive. Help me, help me. She had actually tucked the umbilical cord into her pants to make it look like the baby was still attached to her. But the hospital staff begins to grow suspect as she refuses to be checked at all, and the baby shows up dead, and they actually heard that there was a baby that was abducted from another murder victim after the mother of Reagan showed up and found her daughter with 100 stab wounds. Sadly, at court, all this web of lies comes out. Reagan and the baby were killed. She was sentenced to murder and sentenced to death in Texas, where she currently sits on death row awaiting execution.
So update on the election.
One of the most freaking bizarre cases, man, we heard, man. And it just goes to prove when a person is lying, man, they spinning those webs, how they would just try to do anything to cover it up. Like, she went to the extremes. That's because, like I said, the boyfriend and then boyfriend moms were catching on that, hey, like, you probably not pregnant. Like, you's on to something. And look what she did. Liars can be one of the most dangerous, unpredictable people in the world. Seekers.
Lexi Treviso case, if you didn't know, a lot of people that went to school with her are starting to speak out on social media outlets, and the Daily Mail just published an article on Saturday. So the headline reads, she was a master manipulator. Alexi Treviso knew she was pregnant and had even picked out the name Alex for her baby boy, but hid it from everyone. So what the students told Daily Mail is that around mid-November, students already started to speculate if she was pregnant or not, which she was denying all the rumors. Even her cheer coach had asked her if she was pregnant, but she said that it was the pill, which is why she gained so much weight. But she obviously looked pregnant. I mean, she was actually pregnant, but they felt that they couldn't keep asking her because it was just going to make them look wrong. As in, they were giving her the benefit of the doubt that maybe she was just gaining lots of weight. And when the news broke back in January that someone had discarded their baby in the hospital, people already started to suspect that it was Alexi. So the students did explain that after the news had broke out, both Alex and Devin were gone for a couple of weeks, which they were able to put 2 and 2 together. And when they came back, Alex at one point had the audacity to write a poem called People Talk, basically addressing all the rumors that were going on about her. The reason they also said they couldn't just come out and talk about what was actually happening is because the school was threatening them if they were to talk, they were going to be suspended and not be able to participate in the graduation ceremony. She is currently out on a $100,000 bail and awaiting trial on September 11th.
Oh my God, you
people
guys,
talking
this
about
is
the truth.
The biggest story in true crime today, or it probably will be for the next week. Did you guys see that someone confessed to the murder of JonBenet Ramsey? For my younger followers, this is JonBenet Ramsey. She was killed in her home December 27th, 1996. She was a 6-year-old little girl. She lived in Boulder, Colorado, and someone came in the middle of the night, it was presumed, and kidnapped her. Now, it has been long speculated that the parents were involved, so they said they woke up and there was a ransom note. They were very well off, and I've heard theories also that the son was involved. He was roughly her age, maybe a couple of years older than her. So, like I said, she was killed on December 26, 1996. Now, on December 27th, 1996, this was a huge national story. Now, before the story became known as widely as it was, the Boulder police received a tip that someone had gotten a phone call from a friend that he hadn't spoken to in years, saying that he was scared. He hurt a little girl in Boulder, Colorado. Now, authorities never looked into this or questioned the guy, but the guy in question was Gary Oliva, and this is a picture of him at the 1-year anniversary at the JonBenet Ramsey vigil. This was a picture taken by a private investigator hired by John Ramsey, which was JonBenet's father. He gave them this information and they never looked into it further.
Wow.
So, again, like all my videos, what is going on with the justice system in this country? So they never looked into it, never questioned this guy, but 4 years later, in 2000, this guy was arrested with, relating to CSA. I can't really say it on TikTok, but you get the idea. He was arrested in 2000, at which point he wrote more letters, confession letters, to this friend that lived in California. Okay, so fast forward to 2016, this guy gets arrested yet again, and cops find pictures of JonBenet on his phone, and the CSA charges that he was being arrested for multiple times, and the multiple tips from this guy that he had called and said, "I'm scared, I hurt this girl," were never looked into. What?
Again?
Today we're going to be talking about a murderer and a serial rapist by the name of Mr. Cruel, who a few decades ago was Australia's most wanted and was also known as the boogeyman of Australia. So according to various sketches, this is what Mr. Cruel looked like. And between 1987 and 1991, he broke into 3 homes of 3 Australian parents, and then he would bound the parents and take their daughters. On the morning of August 22nd, 1987, a masked man broke into a quiet home in the suburbs in Melbourne, Australia. He forced both parents onto their stomachs and then bound them. And then he locked them in a closet as he proceeded to rape their 11-year-old daughter. He cut the phone lines and then he left after assaulting the daughter. When the police first heard about this case, they were trying to figure out what happened and asked the parents. The parents then said that the attacker came into their house with a gun and a knife, and tied them in knots which can only be known by sailors. So this gave the police a hint as to who he could be. But because he was wearing a mask, he was unable to be identified. The little girl who was attacked then told the police that he had made a phone call, and told the person on the phone call to move their children and also called him a bozo. But when the police looked into it, they found no record of any phone call. This was just something that Mr. Cruel did to throw the police off his case. He was doing this to purposely confuse investigators. And that's when he went for his second victim, Sharon Wills, who was 10 years old. Just days after Christmas in 1988, John Wills, his wife, and their 4 daughters were asleep. And this house was a couple of miles away from where the first crime took place. Wearing dark blue overalls and a dark ski mask, Mr. Cruel came back. He held a gun to the father's head, and just like the previous crime, rolled the parents onto the stomachs and bound them and gagged them. He knew Sharon Wills' name and woke her up. He then blindfolded her, gagged her, and took her away, and fled the house with some of her clothing the next morning. By the time the father got help, it was too late. Mr. Cruel was gone, and so was Sharon Wills. But 18 hours later, a woman stumbled upon her. She was dressed in a green garbage bag, standing on the street a quarter after midnight. Because she was blindfolded throughout the assault, she couldn't give much information to the police. But Mr. Cruel made sure to wash her body and cut her fingernails and floss her teeth, so there was no forensic evidence available. He then told her that he was the boogeyman. But this was just the beginning of Mr. Cruel's attacks. He then proceeded to attack another girl and murder and attack one more. Running out of time, so I'm going to have to make a part 2, but make sure you check it out.
This is one of the most high-profile pedophiles in Hollywood, Jeffrey Jones.
You might recognize Jeffrey from a number of movies he's been in, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Hunt for Red October, and Beetlejuice. It's highly ironic to me that in a lot of the movies he was in, Jeffrey Jones played the villain, and he ended up being one in real life. So after his career flourished in the late 80s and 90s, let's fast forward to 2002. That year, Jeffrey was arrested for the possession of CP, if you know what I'm talking about, and he was accused by a 17-year-old boy of soliciting him to take nude photos. These charges get even more disturbing when you realize that the young boy who accused Jeffrey of soliciting him to take nude photographs was 14 when the charges were originally brought up and the accusations were made. Jeffrey pleaded no contest to the solicitation. He openly admitted that he had done this horrible thing. But once again, because of legal loopholes, because he admitted to this and pled no contest, that meant that the other CP charges were completely dropped.
No way.
And what happened to Jeffrey after all this? Well, he got 5 years probation. He also had to go through counseling and register as a sex offender. And yes, if you're wondering, to this day, he is still registered as a sex offender. You can find the records of all of this online. But it seems like Jeffrey didn't want to be known as a sex offender throughout his life. For the rest of his life, and he would end up being arrested twice for failing to update his sex offender registration. And in 2006, when working on the set of the movie Who's Your Caddy?, the community of Aiken, South Carolina, where the film was being filmed, complained to the government and complained that a sex offender was on set. This was due to the fact that families had been invited to visit the set with their children, and they had no idea that there was a predator lurking amongst the crew. To this day, a lot of people don't know what this guy has done, and even Justin Bieber posted a photo with him a couple years back, and a lot of people were obviously a little mad about that. And I think it's important to realize that these people are everywhere. They're your friends, your family, your neighbors. They're even celebrities. And at the end of the day, even the people that you look up to and have seen a million times on the silver screen could be the worst people you've ever met in real life. If you like these types of stories, give me a follow or listen to my wife and I's podcast, Murder in America.
Like you said, man, it seems like it's always somebody in Hollywood or famous in that room that has that problem, man. Y'all know the beef that's going on with freaking Jake and Kendrick Lamar right now. You know what Kendrick said, how he's been dropping disses and about hinting about certain stuff. It's like it's crazy. It's a rampant problem in Hollywood, man. Or when it involves famous people, we don't know if it's true now, it's not confirmed, but it's just crazy how it's always like someone in that room or something like that. That's just something to think about.
Patreon. I know if Amanda was alive, she'd be a Patreon member. Thank God for true crime.
Here's the thing. I enjoy listening to some true crime podcasts. I like when they're mysteries and there's like an investigation involved. I honestly like it when a journalist does it and they're in tandem with the family and the family knows about it, so they're kind of working on it together. Like there's a lot of good examples. There's Someone Knows Something, Crime Junkie, although not a great name. My favorite podcast of all time is The Last Podcast on the Left. They don't do all true crime, they do a bunch of other stuff too, but like when they do true crime, they're really good at like demystifying like these serial killers, like, oh, they did, and they're like, no, they're losers. So I really appreciate that. But anyway, someone recommended My Favorite Murder, and I listened to an episode, and I was like, no. First of all, the first half was just like 40 minutes of them doing bits between them, and I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to be a true crime podcast, don't you do research and stuff? They did very little research, like they infantilized like the victims, like it was just really uncomfortable to listen to. So I checked their Instagram and I'm like, how popular are these guys? And they have a lot of followers. And they either posted or reposted a picture, I don't think it was them specifically, but of someone doing a true crime party. And in my head I'm like, no, there's no way they're doing like actual victims of crimes. Like they're probably doing like movie things or like Sherlock Holmes, I don't know. No, it was actual cases of actual people, and they came dressed up. And one of them was dressed up as a pageant queen, like a toddlers and tiaras kind of person. Like the full pageant, like the crown and everything. Because she was impersonating a girl named JonBenet Ramsey who was murdered in 1997, who was 6. And they like reposted it. Like, at what point of delusion are you doing that? Like, that's genuinely disgusting. And they're really popular. Guys, again, I would just be, like, considerate of your consumption. Like, there are a lot of, like, true crime podcasts that, like, work very closely with victims and, like, raise a lot of money. Like, Crime Junkie, like, started a project where they actually identified 2 unidentified people because they raised enough donations to get the DNA testing for them, which was like, oh, it was amazing. It was like, oh, okay, you're doing something. Not doing bits and not dressing as like a child victim for a party. And Last Podcast on the Left does a lot of like alien episodes and Bigfoot episodes. Those are my favorite.
That's actually insane. Truly, that's one of the first time I heard about it. A true crime party where they dress up as the... Who even thought of that idea? Who even thought, hey, let's have a true crime party and we dress up as the victims? Knowing what they went through, y'all know the story, the background behind it, and y'all throwing a party, dressing up as them. Like, they don't think how that could like affect the family members and stuff like that. Like, what happens if somebody found out, I guess in their family, man, that they're having a party and they're dressing up as a victim? That's not funny. That's not even a great idea, a fun idea. Who the hell even thought that up, man? People nowadays, bro, I'm trying to tell you, they don't think before they act, before they do things like this, man. It's crazy. The things people do, man. As a form of entertainment, we gotta be better. Everybody, man, all around. You guys, if you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, guys. Like I said, if you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that post notification bell, hit that like button, man. We're growing. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, I know we can grow our community, the seekers, into something special. I just need you guys' help to follow those 3 simple steps, man. We're golden. Like I said, man, we've been daily uploading, man, every single day, man. I'm planning to do the same thing this month. Hopefully, I want you guys to stick with me through the journey. Like I said, I've been trying to upgrade the channels. Like I said, tell me also down below if you guys like my new reacting style, man. As you guys can see, I'm pausing way less. I'm trying to limit to 2 or 3 pauses, maybe throughout like the whole video, and just save my thoughts until after and kind of speak on it. I'll really only pause like through the video if it's like really important, if it's something I really have to get off my chest. But tell me if you guys like this new style. I'm trying to bring the best entertainment for you guys also, man. Like I said, send me videos you guys want to react to. If you guys, I know y'all been saying y'all don't want to see the same thing. So if you guys can send me the videos, that's why I say follow me on my social medias, because you guys send me the videos, I can put them, I can like compile the clips into the next video. So I need you guys to follow my social medias as well. I'm out. Peace, seekers.